Drivers, start your engines. You are now listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darryl Kinsey Jr. Welcoming you to the lap for today, June 24th, 2021. And folks, it is finally here. My trip to Guntersville, Alabama is just a day away. But before we get to that, of course, we have to talk about what went down this weekend as Red Bull starting to take a stranglehold on the title while Hendrick Motorsports is back to their old dominant ways. That's the only way I can put it. And of course, to help me talk about it are my co-hosts, Christopher Lehman and Mike Ward.
Hello, everyone.
How's it going?
Hope everyone is doing well. Usually this is where I go into how our weeks this week, but we're going to keep things going at a rapid pace today because, as I said, I have a 3:30 car to catch to the airport with my mother, so I basically have to get off as soon as the show ends and go to sleep. So I apologize if we end a little bit early. And Taryn just joined into the chat. Buddy, thank you so much for steering the ship last week. I didn't think I was going to make it here. Thankfully, you were there. Thank you for running us through that show. And as he says in the chat, he's going to be listening instead of on the mic this week. Thank you so much again, buddy. So we're just going to go ahead and go straight into the show tonight. And I apologize if we blow through some things, but as I said, we have to run a bit rapidly today. And we're going to start with the polls that we put out this week. And I have to thank Chris for coming up with this idea for these post-race and midweek polls that we are now doing. We're going to start with Formula One, and we're going to start with the poll because we already know what happened in the race. I think I said it 3 weeks in a row. Mercedes couldn't keep shooting themselves in the foot, and I'm legitimately sure at this point the foot is off and they're going up the leg. We put up a poll saying, do you think Mercedes AMG F1 can mount a comeback for the Constructors' Championship? 32.4% of you said yes, stay the course. 18% said yes, but remove Bottas. Nearly half the respondents said nothing they could do, including yours truly, because I think this is over. I'm going to throw it to Christopher and Michael. Guys, I think Mercedes, frankly, is out of chances, and really because this week they did it to themselves.
Yeah. And just a big thank you to everybody that voted. We had a record number voting on this one. I think it was just shy of 200 votes, which is just awesome. So thank you to everybody who took part in this poll and the Larson poll, which I think got quite a few as well. But yeah, Mercedes, they have started shooting up their leg. And at this point, I think the momentum that Red Bull is carrying is pretty dominant at this point. And they've got 3 wins in a row. There's no reason they can't make it 4, 5, 6, however many. Mercedes has a big points gap to make up when you consider only one of their drivers is really passionate about winning this year.
Yeah, I think that's about right. As Bottas seems like he's got both feet out the door at this point. Michael, that race seemed tailor-made for the surprise Mercedes 2-stop. I think we all thought it was coming, and they never did it. In fact, Red Bull pitted to head that off, and Mercedes just doesn't make the stop.
Yeah, even Bottas was just like, we really should have done the 2-stop The one stop wouldn't have worked. He even said that in the beginning of the race, but Mercedes just didn't listen. And whereas Bottas' words were a lot more harsher than what I said, um, definitely goes to show that Mercedes is still, I think they're in the mindset of, I'm still fighting Ferrari, when they should be in the mindset of, we're fighting Red Bull. And Red Bull is, in my opinion, Red Bull is sometimes a more well organized machine than Ferrari. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, they need to honestly take Red Bull a lot more seriously, because they're coming out and they're swinging this year. They got the number one driver leading the championship, winning 3 races in a row. Never thought I would hear anyone else winning 3 races in a row other than Hamilton. And now you got Perez in third, chomping at the bit. And then your second driver is in fifth, behind Lando Norris. Not to poke fun at Lando Norris, but your customer team is beating your factory driver right now.
I have a two-parter to throw at you guys real quick. So part one is going to be, if you are Mercedes and you see, and we're talking about this past weekend, you see that Red Bull team, they're gearing up. You know that Verstappen's coming in because you see that crew, they're out there, they're getting ready. Are you telling Lewis, hey, Red Bull's getting ready? It might be a last-minute decision, but if they come in, you're coming in too. And I know that there's all the talk, and timing stuff, and it's not necessarily the best to come in because you want to undercut. But I think that decision to not pit, and I think everybody would agree, cost them that race. So, part one, when you see them pit, should Mercedes have said, hey, you're coming in? And part two, if you were starting a team from the ground up today, do you want Toto Wolff or Christian Horner at the helm of your team? And Darryl, I guess I'll throw it to you first.
Oof, that second one is a lot harder, but I'm going to go with the first one. I think you got to tell Lewis, we're coming in next lap, hammer time. Like, you have got to cover off that move. Even if he has a lap fresher tires on those mediums, I think it gives him more than enough to chase down and eventually beat Verstappen. And they just didn't do it, which I don't understand why. On the other side, do I want Toto or do I want Christian? They almost feel like the same guy, just with different nationalities. But Formula One is such an aero game, and Christian Horner is really good over there with the aero. Of course, Adrian Newey is really good with the aero, actually, over there at Red Bull, so I take that back. But I think I got to go Christian Horner right now if I'm going by recent performance, to be honest.
And intimidation factor.
Yeah.
What about you, Michael?
To be honest.
It's you have to pit to cover off a driver that's changing the strategy. Covering off drivers is the most important thing, because they're going to pit and they're going to have fresher tires, which means no matter what you do, you are losing time. And you might think, oh, it's a 10th here, a 10th there. A couple tenths here, you lose half a second. Another 5 tenths, that's a second. So you need to pit. You need to cover that guy's off so that you can keep your pace fast along with him. So I think Hamilton should have pit.
I think sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think when Mercedes started putting the math together, once Verstappen got out there and he's putting 2 to 2.5 seconds on you, and you say, hey, he's going to catch you with 5 to 8 to go, I think at that point your hand has been played. It doesn't matter how good you are at tire saving, you have to come in, because 5 to 8 laps is too much for what I think many would consider to be the second best driver in F1 right now. With 5 to 8 laps, he's going to pass you on fresher tires. And I think that it was just a total mismanagement by Mercedes strategy.
I agree.
It definitely was.
And as for who I would pick as a manager, I've been, watching Formula One since 2010, and it's tough because Toto Wolff has the, he has the factory mindset. He's worked there in Mercedes. He's been there with Williams, trying to uplift that team, and then he's come to Mercedes 80s, and he's done magic there. I gotta go. I'm thinking about the era that we're in, and I gotta go with Toto Wolff. He's got that manufacturing know-how. He's got that engine mindset to get the most out of the engine, and Aero is great, but at this era of F1, the engine is so much more dependent. It's you can see it on Ferrari. Ferrari is a great car, but it sucks on power. So I gotta go with that. Yeah, I gotta go with that. That manufacturing and that team leadership that Toto Wolff has going on, and he also has a very commanding presence in the paddock. So I will go with Toto Wolff.
Yeah, I mean, either way, you're not going to go wrong. There's definitely a case to be made for either one. And I think that they're both great at what they do.
I think either one you're going to get world championships, to be honest. So it kind of comes out in the wash when you think about it.
I'd say you could throw Bonato in there, but let's not.
So let's go down the running order for Formula One before we get into what's coming up next and whether or not Mercedes can actually do anything here. Behind the Red Bull Mercedes duo, and actually before we get to that, Bottas's behavior at the end of the race, when he ends he spent half the race cussing out the team first. Then when the race is over and they're telling him pick up rubber and tell him how the race ended, he just doesn't say anything. I think either Michael or Chris, you shared it to the group, and he's not saying anything, but he is MFing everyone so hard in his head as he is driving around that last lap. It's not even funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he turned off the radio at that point, but yeah, he definitely wasn't happy. I sent another video where he basically, as he's getting passed by Perez, he said we should have did a 2-stop instead of a 1-stop. And for internet safety here, I can't really say the exact words he said. Just know that is the first time I've heard a Formula One driver curse. But go ahead.
I was going to say, my favorite part of Mercedes' failure of strategy is that they commit to a one-tire stop or a one-stop strategy. And then once they realize that they've lost, they're like, you know what, we made a mistake. Bottas, why don't you come down, grab some fresh tires? We're going to go for fastest lap. That was just, I was laughing out loud, because that when Bottas wasn't on that radio, I can only imagine what he was saying to himself in that car.
I'm surprised he didn't give us 2 weeks' notice there. It just said, look, I'm not coming back next week.
I would have loved to see him pull down, and they stop to pit the car, and then he just shuts it off and gets out and says, you do it.
Yeah, Bottas is very sick of that seat, I could imagine. And
I don't see him coming back. I really don't.
I don't either. And this is his worst. Well, I said it last year, but this is the worst season for Mercedes. It is absolutely the worst they have performed this year.
And that's saying something.
It's just internal struggles, too. I mean, they've got good cars. It's just I don't think that they're handling Bottas right, and it's tearing the team apart.
They aren't handling Bottas right. They're treating him worse than I think any of the drivers at Red Bull got treated, and that's up to and including Daniel Kvyat, who never really got a chance in that car, if we're being honest.
That's saying something, Darryl.
And Kvyat got half a season, and they kicked him out. He got no time to get used to that car.
I think about Kvyat is that at one point he was outperforming Ricciardo before they kicked him out of the seat.
Yep.
I think Bottas would be good where he in a team further down the grid where he could be the number one at like a Williams or something. I think that he would do really good as like a number one veteran presence.
But would you really want to be at Williams right now, just riding around at the back fighting Haas? And I mean barely fighting Haas.
I was just getting ready to say there's only one team in F1 that I would really not want to be a part of, and you happen to say who they are.
Yeah.
If I was a driver, I could stomach being on 9 teams. Any 9 teams, and I could probably handle it with a little bit of grace. But there is one where I would go to IndyCar and say, nah, no F1.
Like I'm surprised you just doesn't say, you know what? I got 4 wins. I think he has 9 wins, but I think if he does lose his seat, he's just like, nah, screw this sport, I'm out.
Yep. So some news that just broke while we're sitting here.
Oh boy.
Formula One is going to slow down the pit stops from the Hungarian Grand Prix.
What do they mean slow down?
They're changing the gas that is going to be used in the pit guns. They can only be used by compressed air or nitrogen. Any sensor systems may only act passively. Basically, they're trying to slow down the pit stops because we're getting down to 1 to 2 second pit stops in Formula One. And the FIA is like, nah, y'all got to slow that down because somebody's going to miss a wheel nut and we're going to have issues.
But they're trained to do that.
I get that, but the FIA is like, nah, y'all got to slow down.
But they're trained to do it as fast as possible, though.
Yeah, that seems a little goofy.
Hours doing that. They spend hours doing that, training to do that.
I mean, is this another Pirelli rule where they seemingly have more powers after Baku than they went into it with?
It doesn't look like I'm reading. This is from Adam Cooper at motorsport.com. So I'm looking over here. They're expecting the minimum time offset as well between the initial initiation of the jack release procedures and the go signal to the driver by the green light to be at least 0.2 of a second. Currently, it was 0.15 of a second. So they're slowing that down by 0.5, but or 0.5, however that works. Decimals are weird, but I get it trying to slow the pit stops down, but this feels like y'all should be messing with other stuff that's not this. If that's,
And I mean, I guess that's all I can really say is I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they want to give it a try, does it seem like this is going to be permanent, or is this just going to be like a trial basis for maybe a track or two?
Nope, it's going to be permanent.
Okay. That's interesting.
I mean, all those world records that the people try to beat in pit stops are effectively going to be done and dusted.
So before we go, I just want to go quick down the order. It was a great run for McLaren going 4th and 5th, especially for Daniel Ricciardo, who has had a absolutely horrible season. I think we can say that by his standards.
And also, Ricciardo getting faster, that could also be a problem for Bottas.
That's going to be a problem for Mercedes. That's another team that could take points off them. So we're going to have to watch that going forward. AlphaTauri, Pierre Gasly finishes 7th. Fernando Alonso in the Alpine finishes 8th. Vettel and Stroll, 9th and 10th for the Mercedes. Ferrari gets locked out of the points at 11th and 16th with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc being 16th. Did not see that coming. You thought
that car is severely down on power still.
Well, you thought after Baku and Monaco, maybe there was something there, but looks like it was just an anomaly.
Yeah, they had a couple strong showings the last couple weeks. I guess I thought that they had managed to scoop up some points, but I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Also,
Go ahead.
I was about to say, did anybody see the new changes to the Abu Dhabi track?
I did, but we are not going to have time to touch on that this week. We will get to that next week, though. But we're going to take a quick break, and then we come back. We're going to get into the Hendrick domination. But we want to say thank you to the Southern California Warriors for being a sponsor here on IE Sports Radio. Since 2017, they have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances through semi-pro sports. Folks, if you are in the Southern California area and you want another chance at the gridiron, give the SoCal Warriors a look. They are on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, at Southern California _Warriors on Instagram, Southern California Warriors on Facebook. Thank you so much for sponsoring IE Sports Radio. We'll be right back after this.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We are back here in Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And folks, you want to join us next week. Chris Hacker is going to be on the show. We're also working on some other guests in the future. You are going to want to tune in next week. I know Christopher wanted me to save that for the end of the show, but I'm a little bit excited, so I had to tell you now. I'll tell you again at the end. Next week, 8 o'clock, Chris Hacker right here on IE Sports Radio for the Extra Mile. So we're going to go ahead and get into NASCAR. And folks, in the Ally 400, first, it was great to be back in Nashville, but Kyle Larson led early, often, and all the time in Nashville, dominating the Ally 400 and picking up yet another victory. And when we thought we were possibly going to have 17 winners this season, it's all become Kyle Larson's playground, and Hendrick Motorsports as well. But Larson pulling a vintage Jimmy Johnson right here is what it feels like he's setting up for. He is obliterating the field to the point we asked you, the listeners, how many races did you think he was going to win this week? The majority of the poll voted that he was going to sweep the weekend. I'm going to get the numbers here in a moment as Twitter has decided it's going to update. Thanks, Twitter. But over half the poll, I believe, said that Larson's going to win 2 races. In fact, 46.4% said 2. Over 70% said that he was going to win at least 1 race this weekend. Guys, Larson's on a roll. I guess we can start with your feelings about it. And can he, or Hendrick Motorsports for that matter, be stopped?
So just to touch on what you said a minute ago, and for those of you at home listening and hearing some wrestling, if you checked out our Twitter, you will know that I am sitting by the campfire right now, just hanging out, having an adult beverage, and it's a beautiful night here. But I'm part of that. What I was saying a second ago was you had said that you thought we were going to have 17 different winners, and I am now of the opinion that we're going to have one winner 17 times. Because I voted for Kyle Larson sweeping the weekend. I think the inversion doesn't hurt him. He's a dirt guy. He knows, he's came from the back a couple times. I think he's going to get it done coming from the back. When you got to pass 32 Rick Ware racing cars, it's not that hard to come from the back. And not to change the subject, but the Trackhouse charter got sold out from underneath him to who the heck bought him? Spire sold it to somebody. To Colleague, yeah. So, I wonder what that says for Trackhouse next year. Maybe those Rick Ware loses a charter or two for that performance clause.
If we had time, I would just eviscerate the charter system, but I will say I don't like it. I think I've been on record saying I don't like the charter system, and this just continues to prove why I don't like it. That frustrates me. But Michael, you had a completely different reaction to the Kyle Larson domination.
Yeah, can this man stop winning? Yeah, I'm glad that he's doing great, more than great. He's doing fantastic. But can somebody else beat him, please? I like my motorsports to have competition. Just saying.
They could put him out there in a quarter midget, and he'd still be winning 410 sprint races.
And you know what's sad? I believe you. But yeah, he's done a great job in Hendrick. Matter of fact, Hendrick as a team has done phenomenal, and it almost makes me wonder what is everyone else doing right now. Are we focusing on the new car, or are we calling this championship a bust already, or what's going on? Mr. Gibbs, talk to me. Soldiers, what's going on here?
And I think we kind of maybe saw a clue of what's happening with these other teams this weekend. As you guys know, we had practice and qualifying, and Stuart Haas Racing popped up into the top 10 out of nowhere with 2 cars. Maybe this year, just the lack of ability to work on your car before the green flag flies, that might be messing up a lot of these veterans like Kevin Harvick who shined with practice.
Kevin Harvick and Almirola finished 4th and 5th, and I think they were just happy to get some practice just to test what works and what doesn't on our car, because SHR has been wolf all season long. They're finally back going. What I have noticed, a lot of Hendrick domination, because I'm looking at the top 10. We have 6 of the top 10 are Chevys. Half of those being Hendrick, or not half of those, a third of those being Hendrick Chevys. As we're obviously not surprised, they're really, really good. It is. It's no. Oh, sorry, but it's no debate that Chevy has found something this year with the Camaro, and it's gone from third best car to the first in NASCAR right now.
Yeah, and not to interrupt you guys, but Ross Chastain just drove through that field, and I think we finally saw the potential that we knew that he had. But, hats off to him and Kurt Busch for a very strong performance this week. SHR was strong. We saw some teams that we haven't been talking about a lot in a positive light this year. And, they performed and they showed up this past week. And, again, just hats off to Chastain. He drove up through that field like, well, it is his job. But he did it like it was his job.
Mm-hmm. I think we're finally starting to see his potential as a driver. Like, I know there's been a talk that maybe he wasn't that good. Well, I think we're starting to see that Ross Chastain actually is that good. It takes a little bit to get used to the Cup car, even with how the 550 package works now. And I think he's finally starting to get used to it. Although I will say, Christopher, they should have given him the green light a lot earlier than they did.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Because I don't think he was going to catch Larson. I think that his ceiling was going to be second place, but he could have got closer.
Michael, what do you think? Do you think that if he had gone earlier, that maybe Ross Chastain would have had something?
I mean, the way he was driving, he might have had a shot, but Kyle Larson's been on it, so I think it would have been a close race, but I think Larson still would have had it. Just Larson is a different breed right now.
I have a question for you guys. At this point in the season, and we're going to talk about more of the race in a moment. For the championship, are you taking Kyle Larson at this point or the field?
On this one, but I see Hendrick having 2 or 3 cars in the championship 4. And I know that's a bold prediction, but I think that it's definitely attainable based on their performance.
Is taking the field.
I want to take the field too, because I still think it's still too early to make that much of a claim, but he definitely has a good shot at winning the championship.
I think it's going to be Larson taking the championship. But looking at that race, we'll get to the traffic situation in a minute, but Nashville, with whatever resin they put down to keep the rubber from coming off the track with the 750 horsepower package, that race was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that track, I think, more than the previous years they were there. I know it's a 4-year deal with Dover Motorsports, where their second date is going to be at Nashville Super Speedway. I think we got some fun races ahead for this track, especially the next gen car coming next year.
Yeah, and I saw somebody, I'm pretty sure it was this week, but somebody wrote that what we saw on Sunday was all the evidence we need to never see PJ1 again. And I would have to agree that what we saw Sunday was good racing without the gimmicks of the PJ1.
Yep, I would agree with that.
And I think it will help that proving that we don't need the PJ1. It doesn't. Let's really talk about this PJ1 here for a second. Do either of you really think it's done anything to the tracks? Or anything, not anything to the tracks. Has it done anything to improve the racing?
No.
Really?
I think it's been I think it's been a marginal change at best.
I think the biggest benefit that it has is engaging the fans early in the race because everybody is terrified to go up into it. And so it keeps everybody bunched right up on the bottom of the track. And obviously Rubbin's racing, and that's where all the excitement comes from. And it almost forces 2 lanes of traffic into 1.5 lanes. And for the start of the race, where you're going to get the most engagement and retain for the rest of the race, I think that it does the job that I think they actually intended to do.
Mm-hmm.
Which is obviously create a lot of beating and banging, or at least a lot of, edgier seat racing coming right into that first corner and then right over into, turn 3 and 4.
My problem with it is it just, especially now with no practice, no qualifying, they can't activate it during the weekend. Like, the stuff needs to be running, but you can't do that during the race because if you drive into it during the race, you go into the wall. Like, we're not having practice and qualifying, yet you're putting all the sticky crap on the track that needs heat to activate, and it doesn't work out at all.
Yep. No, it's just one of those things that I think is a gimmick to try to make the sport more entertaining to watch. It's what really it comes down to, at least for me personally.
Something's got to. I think with this new car, I think we need to say goodbye to the PJ1. The problem is with the tracks that have already put it down, they might have to repave to get it up because Texas has tried to, wash it off the racetrack and it just doesn't come off. So there's a lot that needs to be done with that because it's ruining the tracks for other series. Like we saw with IndyCar, it's turned Texas from a multiple groove racetrack for IndyCar to everybody running the bottom. Like, it's a problem.
Definitely sounds like a problem.
And I think another issue that was in that race on Sunday was the brakes. We saw a lot of brake failures, a lot of conversation about brake heat, and I know they did some tire testing, and it felt like teams came in, thought this was going to be like a normal 1.5 miles, but with the lower downforce, it to use more brakes, they heated up quicker. And Christopher, I just felt like everybody missed, ironically, on their brake setup.
Yeah, brakes and tires. We have tire failures there early in the race. So, yeah, it seemed like brakes were a big issue, and it didn't discriminate based on team. It seemed like everybody went with that lighter duty brake, and they ultimately paid the price for it. And I mean, that's just one of those things. It's one of them racing deals, more or less. But it makes a big impact, and I think that stays in a lot of notebooks for next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to have a lot of data to crunch through, or all the teams have a lot of data to crunch through going into next season. And we saw Bubba Wallace had a rough day, which led to some stuff on Twitter that we're not going to get into tonight because I just don't feel like being angry at people making stupid comments. But one bad race does not a career make, and we'll leave it at that. Quick sidebar before we go on to the rest of the racing. You guys know about those Heinz combination things? Like the mayo chip where they take like mayo and ketchup and put it together?
No.
In one bottle?
Oh, fancy sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never had it. I make my own with Hellmann's mayonnaise, the only respectable mayonnaise. But I think that's a discussion.
God, that sounds like a commercial.
Yeah.
I think the
mayonnaise sound like a commercial.
And maybe ranch, ketchup, and mustard as well. Maybe we have a condiment episode, a special. I know that Chris Hacker is big into posting his dinner, so maybe we'll ask him what his condiments are next week.
Okay. Well, the reason I bring it up is I don't know if this is real or not, but there's a new one. Allegedly, there is a Heinz May Oreo.
I'm sorry, what?
Heinz May Oreo. Mayonnaise mixed with Oreos.
You know that saying from Futurama by the professor, I don't want to live on this planet anymore? That's about what I'm feeling at this point.
Yeah, I need to see if this is actually real, because it was posted on a page that I follow. Please don't let this be real.
Now, however,
I really hope
this might be controversial to people, but I like ranch and barbecue sauce mixed together. That's also a good.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. What he just said.
It's about God.
I hope this is a Photoshop.
I'm sorry, but who looks at Oreos and says, "Man, I want mayonnaise in this"?
It's not a Photoshop.
What?
Yep, I don't think this is a Photoshop. I think this is real.
Oh no.
My stomach hurts thinking about this. And I don't do mayonnaise. Wait a minute. Please tell me this is fake. Please tell me this is fake.
Well, while you're looking that up, Darryl, talking about
it's fake.
punches
Thank
to the gut. Oh, good.
God. Thank God. Yeah. Anyway, moving away from disgusting.
Anyway, we talk about
mixes.
cars here.
Right.
Well, I have one more disgusting topic for you guys, and that's the fact that we didn't even get a proper goodbye for Jeff Gordon in the booth.
Yeah, it was
for
just
those of
like.
You that don't know, Jeff Gordon is now at HMS full time, effective January 1st, 2022, and Larry Mack will now be back full time in the booth.
Which, that's going to be awesome having Larry Mack and Clint Boyer together. But, man, could they have done that? Made that announcement during the Fox broadcast so we could have got a proper send-off to Jeff Gordon in the booth? Like, it was so unceremonious. And, I mean, we all knew this was coming, that Jeff was going to take a higher echelon role at Hendrick Motorsports. Eventually, he's going to be the owner of the place once Rick retires. We know that. He's like a son to Mr. H, so also his, most successful driver, not named Jimmy Johnson. That's a story for another day. But, man, I wish they could have done this during the Fox season. It's just so unceremonious. Just do it through Twitter.
And your last race was the Texas All-Star race.
Yeah.
Jeff, I am so sorry for you. But actually, Deb from the Fast Lap podcast shared with me an interesting thought that she had in regards to this sudden move for Jeff Gordon to take that vice president role of competition or whatever his title is at HMS. And that is actually to do with junior motorsports. So Rick Hendrick cannot own a team or manage or, be the head of a team, two NASCAR Cup teams. And so the thought is that Junior Motorsports is pushing for a 2023, and they wanted to get Jeff Gordon one season under his belt before he actually took the reins over full time for Mr. H, which I thought was an interesting theory. I don't know how true it is, but it does explain the urgency. How, we all knew that Jeff was going to take over, but it seemed like the reports kind of broke out about it, and then a couple of weeks later they confirmed, like, yep, he's done at Fox. And I think that it at least lends some validity, this rush job to get Jeff out. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that's plausible, or do you think, are you selling that?
Here's how I'll put it. Rick Hendrick turned 72 July 12th. He probably wants to go do something else. So I would not be surprised that we are coming into the time that Jeff Gordon is going to take over the team, and this is, the stepping stones of it. Now, that being said, he did say he wants to be in for a long time, but we don't know what stories or what has been said behind the scenes. And I think, Christopher, it is, as you say, he's getting ready to take over the reins full time in a couple of years or so. And if it's not in 2023, it's going to be soon, I believe.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that. And, I never want to put this type of thing out there, but, Rick he's an older guy, and you also have to wonder about health. Maybe, there are some other things going on that this rush job seems to have happened. Again, I really do not wish that, but it's something that you almost have to consider with just how fast this seemed to go.
Mm-hmm. It went quickly, and I think this is going to continue to go extremely fast. Michael, it's going to be weird seeing Jeff Gordon go from driver to broadcaster to team owner so quickly, but I think it's something that we've all just expected to see happen here extremely quickly. Yeah,
he's proven that he can do it, so I don't really blame him for taking a deal. I would have taken a deal. It's just like you guys said, I wish we could have got a proper send-off, during the race. Thanks for being up there and telling us what's going on the track. But I think he's going to do really good as an owner. He always picks him out. He's picked Jimmy Johnson, and we all know how great that went. So I'm looking forward to it.
So we're going to get ready to close out, but we do have a couple of announcements. First, we're going to quickly touch on IndyCar. We got to touch on SRX quickly because it's 8:49, so we will do that. So IndyCar, Alex Palou takes the win as Joseph Newgarden, the car breaks with a few laps to go, stumbles, finishes well down the order. Penske cannot catch a break in in IndyCar this year. On the other hand, the youngins are starting to take over from the old guard, and I love seeing it over there in IndyCar. This weekend, I will be in Guntersville, Alabama for the Lake Guntersville Hydro Fest. Keep it locked to the Extra Mile iSports radio page. I'll have videos and pictures from the event all weekend long. I cannot wait to get down there. My first ever boat race. I am so excited to finally get to see this. And before we go to nearest the win and clock out, Christopher, take us through SRX.
So I know that you guys watched it, and it only took Tony Stewart two races to win in the series that he helped create. And based on the USRN stage points little game that is really fun to play. I wish I had known about it earlier in the season because I'm behind like 400 points. But if you guys aren't playing, the listeners, I know that you play, Darryl. But that's a really fun game. So stay locked to the USRN Twitter page. But so Tony Stewart takes the win. It was a pretty popular pick since I petition Matt Owens to include it in on the winners picks. But I think the story to come out of this was Haley Deegan. I think she really impressed in her SRX debut. We got one more race with her. I don't remember when it is. I think it's in 2 weeks. But I mean, did you guys catch any race of that race? And what did you guys think of it if you did?
I did watch all of the race this week. I think the changes that they made worked well. Keeping everybody in their same car is excellent with the same colors and sponsors, so it's easier to identify. They also changed the top of the screen to also, or the lower, not the top of the screen, but the ticker to also reflect that. These cars are a lot of fun, and seeing these drivers go at it is awesome. And I said, when I typed on Twitter, you're starting to learn about some drivers that you may not have learned of before. Like the fact that the last 7 years, Trans Am has been won by one guy, and it was a black guy, and I didn't know that, and I'm mad that we didn't talk about it. And the fact that Ernie Francis Jr. doesn't have a bigger name does not sit well with me. Please put respect on his name. But no, I love SRX for what it is, and I cannot wait for the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, I'm going to miss this week because I'll be in Alabama. I might be able to catch it, depending on what we're doing. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It really is.
And I don't want to extend this out on you, Darryl, because I know you do want to get going, but I feel like I have to ask, obviously we're seeing, we saw that Kobe got a truck deal for Bristol later this year, who won the inaugural SRX event. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that it's possible that a guy like Ernie Francis Jr. does get maybe a truck race, or maybe even a couple based on his performances in SRX?
Well, I know he is in the Drive to Diversity program with Rev Racing as far as NASCAR goes. I hope it translates into something. It would really help for these, younger guys. And we will caveat this. Yes, they're racing a bunch of guys that are from 40s to darn near 80s, but racing's racing. And if you can put on against those guys that were good at some point, you should at least get a look-see. So we will see what happens with it. I think he should get a truck ride or something out of it, though.
Yeah.
Can I just say real quick that it's great seeing these drivers that we looked up to when we were kids still out here doing what they, trained all their lives to do.
I think
it's really great.
It's fun, but I wish that we could see Bill Elliott for more than 10 laps a race.
Bill Elliott's car keeps breaking.
They need to just do an engine swap in that. I know that it's probably against their own self-set rules, but they need to do something because I root for Bill Elliott, and seeing his car break within the first 10 laps is getting painful to watch. I don't know if I can see it again.
Yep. So, folks, we're going to quickly go through nearest the win and get out of here. We've got NASCAR at Pocono, 2 drivers, 1 race, 1 driver, both races, and the Formula One British Grand Prix. Here is how I feel about it. My winners this week, I think Verstappen is going to show up Lewis Hamilton on his home circuit, in his home court, and tighten his grip on ripping that championship from them. And I wish I could take Larson this week at Pocono, but I cannot. But I will take Denny Hamlin to finally get off the schneid and get a win. Christopher, what say you?
I tell you, those are 2 good picks, Darryl. I do applaud you for those. And Michael and we used our Verstappen pick last week, but we did not use our Kyle Larson. So I think that Michael will begrudgingly agree with me that we're going to take Kyle Larson for Pocono. And we both used Verstappen, but I think we might both be on the same page when we say Perez. But anyways, Michael, what are you thinking?
I'm going to agree with you on the Larson thing begrudgingly, but I do kind of want another nearest to win championship. So I'm going to take Larson for Austria, I like to mess around with nearest to win, so I'm gonna take Sergio Perez.
Right. And yeah, I don't know why. The reason why I said home turf is because they just talked about the British Grand Prix. We are going to Styria. I'm sorry about that, but we are going to Austria this week, which is Red Bull's hometown. Yeah, so this is Red Bull's hometown. So Verstappen getting the win there is going to be a lot more important. Taryn is taking Verstappen, and this is a surprise. Joey Logano.
Interesting pick. I see it, Taryn. You aren't far off.
I can see that.
Yep. So you will see what happens this week. Of course, if you want to be a part of Nearest to Win, your winners, #Nearest to Win, we will get you in. But folks, we're going to get out of here. I got a plane to catch. Follow all the Twitter, Facebook, and Instagrams for iSports Radio. Michael's at Michael_War25. Christopher's at Fiji Sims. I'm at DK Jr. 12. Shout out to my great co-workers at Southern Maryland News. Give them a follow at SOMD News. They've been knocking it out the park this week as usual. Love to be a part of that group. And if you're interested, we would obviously also enjoy your patronage at the paper, but do that of your own volition. But hey, we are getting out of here. I've got a plane to catch. This has been the Extra Mile. And go ahead.
And don't forget, folks, this week, tune in to our Twitter page because Darryl's going to have a lot of great content coming out of Alabama. And next week, July 1st at 8 p.m., right at the head of the show, we've got Chris Hacker joining us live, not in the flesh, but metaphorically in the flesh. So next week is going to be a can't miss episode. Chris Hacker, Hydroplane breakdown. It's going to be a great episode, guys. It might spill over more than an hour. No promises, but I have a feeling.
It's going to be a lot of fun next week. Anyway, I got a plane to catch. See y'all next week for the next green flag. Good night, everybody.